Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Christmas Apple Romantics. Dr. Toby Longsworth, psychology PhD, was flat out amazed at the stunning rolling sights of the Kent countryside as he drove down a narrow country lane with thick sycamore trees densely lining it. The thick branches shot out of the top of the trunk in all directions, partly covering the perfectly crystal clear sky. Toby was glad there wasn't a cloud in the sky, but it was icy cold, bitter, and he was grateful his Land Rover's heating was working. He had it on full heat, and he almost didn't want to step outside. But he had to, because he had to go and get back the love of his life. The country lane bent every so often, going left and right, up and down, and it got wider and narrower. Toby really enjoyed driving through country lanes, something his parents couldn't understand for the life of them, but he liked driving through nature. Even with the thick, dense woodland around him, every so often he got to see the stunning rolling hills. He had to see entire fields with long, thick, luscious grass blowing gently in the cold air. He got to see sheep grazing, horses riding, enjoying themselves, and it just reminded him how great life. Toby slowed down a little as the country lane took a sharp turn to the right, and he seriously didn't want to wreck his car. It might have been close to Christmas, but he doubted anyone in his poor family could afford him a car for Christmas. He supposed that was why he liked Kent, because it was beautiful, and it was so different from the slums of Manchester where he grew up. And there was a stunning man in Kent too. Toby had always loved Dr. Max Davidson, psychology PhD, ever since they had first met in Freshers' Week during the first year of their undergraduate degree. They had both been late to the welcome week because Kent University was a hell of a maze at times, so they both had to sit next to each other. Toby loved Max's fit, intensely slim, slightly muscular body with good biceps, and his short black crew cut framed his face perfectly. Max was so cool, knowledgeable, and Max had asked for his number as soon as the welcome talk finished. They spoke every single day since. Something Toby was still surprised about, because being around Max felt so natural, so easy, and he could just be himself with him. Max brought out the best in him, and Toby loved him for that. Toby hooked a left onto another long country lane with even thicker, denser woodland lining the road. His car jerked a little as he hit the pothole-infested road, but he kept driving because he wanted to see Max again. His car vibrated and banged and popped a little in protest of his speed and the potholes, but Toby didn't want to go any slower. Any slower, and the car would stall. It was as simple as that. Over the course of their undergraduate, Toby and Max had risen to the top of the School of Psychology. They always got the top grades. Everyone wanted to be their friends and asked them questions, and even the upper years were asking them for help. Toby wasn't sure why the higher years needed the help, but Toby didn't mind. Helping people was fun, interesting, and he was always learning things from people, and that was the most important thing of all. Toby just liked people. Then, for their dissertation at the end of their undergraduate, they had come up with a groundbreaking study on mapping where memories were made, stored and retrieved in the brain that got international recognition. They continued their memory research during their masters and PhDs, and got better and better results, and had a few more breakthroughs along the way. All whilst Toby fell more and more in love with Max. Toby had no idea he was so into men before Max, because Max was just so beautiful, stunning, and they were best friends. In between their masters and PhDs during an intense hot summer, they had spoken about dating and seeing what would happen. Toby was still surprised Max had wanted it more than anything. Yet after a while, they had agreed it was best to wait after their PhDs, because they were best friends. They were the new hot things in British psychology, and they didn't want to mess it up. But they did. Toby grinned as the thick, dense woodland and awful potholes went away as he drove onto a new stretch of a country lane. There were wide, flat, open fields around him, filled with apple trees, stretching on for miles upon miles. He popped down the window for a brief second, and the icy cold air carried in the sweet scents of applewood, smoked bacon, caramel, and baking. Then he had to close the window. It was too damn cold. This was Max's family orchard, and this was where he would be. He had already secretly called Max's mom and dad, and they were excited he was coming, because they wanted this fixed as badly as he did. 3 months ago, in September, Toby had finally gotten the offer of his dreams. Him and Max had been invited to give a keynote lecture at Oxford University, and they were going to be presented with a major award for their contributions to cognitive psychology. Toby was so excited. It was everything he had ever wanted, and it was a major fuck you to Oxford, who had rejected him all those years before because he wasn't good enough in their eyes. Max had been excited too, so they both gave the talk. Everyone had loved it, and they had had a brilliant reception in their honor. Toby was still helping and giving tips and ideas to Oxford students because he didn't care about the focus on him. He just wanted to help people learn and contribute more to psychology. When him and Max got back to their hotel, Toby was so excited, so happy, and so pleased with Max for helping to make this all possible, that Toby kissed Max hard, deep, and passionately. Then Max kissed back, grabbed Toby's hips, and it was the best night Toby had ever had in his life. He had had a few hookups and even 2 boyfriends during his time at university, but they were nothing compared to Max. But the next morning, Max felt guilty and upset, and Toby didn't know how to help him or what had gone wrong. It was awkward, and Max stopped talking to him when they left Oxford. Max had mentioned how it wasn't Toby's fault or anything, and he had flat out loved their night together too, but Toby still didn't understand why Max had had to shatter his heart after everything they had achieved together, and how he had lost his best friend and the man he loved. Now he was going to find out, even if the truth shattered his heart all over again. Max flat out loved his family apple orchard that they had had for over 3 generations. It was so beautiful, perfect, and it didn't matter what was happening or how hard his exams were. The orchard was just a little slice of calm in amongst the chaos of academic life. Max walked up a long, endless row of bare, leafless apple trees in silence with his brother Ben, wearing a black tracksuit like he was heading to the gym, and the cute family Yorkie, Bruce. Max was proud of the orchard and everything his family had managed to achieve. Each apple tree in all 200 endless neat rows had a thick, strong trunk and branches, and plenty of smaller branches shooting off from them. They always had a great harvest, and Max really enjoyed helping his mom with the baking, preparing, and selling of the apples. Whether they sold the whole apples, apple pies, tarts, or even apple juice, Max loved it all, and he loved his family. Max smiled at Ben as they walked silently next to each other. He had no idea how Ben wasn't going in his gym wear, but it suited him. They had spent the past 2 hours hiking around the orchard talking about each other's lives. Ben's husband getting a translation job promotion in continental Europe, and how they were thinking of adopting. Ben would be an amazing dad, and Ben was always nice company. It was only when he was with Ben that Max realized just how much he missed him. He really needed to make an effort to talk to him more. The long, thick, luscious grass slowed their walk down, but Max didn't mind. He liked the long grass, especially in the spring before his dad cut it for the workers. There was nothing like running from the thick grass and feeling the wonderfully cool grass under his bare feet and kicking up the scents of freshly cut grass. Max always tried to be home for when the grass was cut because the entire area just smelt amazing for a few days afterwards. Bruce yapped a few times as he played with something in the long grass by an apple tree, and Ben called him over, and the little Yorkie ran over to them. Max had no idea why his parents had called the little dog Bruce, considering Bruce was probably the most mask name ever, and Bruce seriously wasn't. It was what Max loved about the Yorkie. He was so cute and perfect. Max shivered a little in his pair of old blue trousers, black hoodie, and brown hiking boots that he always wore when he was on the orchard. They were just comfortable and practical to work in, and with the pruning needing to be done soon, Max was glad the clothes still fit him. The late afternoon air was cold, crisp, and refreshing. It was nothing like the warm, polluted air of London, Manchester, or any other major city he had been traveling to in recent years to give talks. This was home, and his slice of heaven away from the chaos of life. "This is perfect, isn't it?" Ben asked. "There isn't a cloud in the sky, no noise, and I'm with my little brother." Max rolled his eyes. He had been waiting for this to pop up, because clearly his parents had sent Ben to get answers out of him. He wasn't even sure why everyone was making such a big deal out of it. He had only stopped talking to the most beautiful, striking, and insanely attractive man he had ever had the pleasure of knowing. He had only returned home a month before without telling anyone, and he had only been talking about quitting academia altogether. Max laughed to himself. He could see why his family was worried about him. But sending Ben to get answers out of him, that was a low blow even for his parents. "What do you want to know?" Max asked as they kept walking. Ben laughed. "I don't want to know anything. I'm just talking with my little brother." "You want to know why I stopped talking to Toby?" Max asked. "Well, yes, that would be nice to know. We've all tried to talk to you about it, and you keep shutting us out." Max clicked his fingers, and Bruce ran around and tried jumping up to him, but all the little Yorkie managed to rub his head on Max's shin. Max knelt down and stroked the cute Yorkie whilst he looked up at Ben. "We had sex, okay," Max said, hating he was admitting the biggest mistake of his life. "Finally. What's wrong with that? Was he bad? I can't imagine either one of you had had much practice." Max stuck his tongue out, and then Bruce started licking his hand. He hugged Bruce for a moment, before he continued stroking him. Max just didn't have the heart to tell his big brother that Max had had a good amount of sex and kissing and fun during his degrees. And apparently, he was amazing at it. Ben knelt down and stroked Bruce even more, so the Yorkie got even more excited. The icy coldness of the grass and gentle breeze made Max shiver, but Ben was right. He couldn't keep shutting his family out. Toby was amazing. The sex was filled with intensity, chemistry, and it was everything even one of us had ever wanted, Max said, smiling at the insanely fun memories of that hot night. "So what went wrong for you?" "Please don't judge me," Max said. Ben shrugged and started stroking Bruce's tummy and his tail even more wild. "I've never actually dated in my life before. I've had friends with benefits, a few hookups, and 2 boyfriends that lasted a week. So I've never dated before, and I don't want to hurt Toby." Max hated how his stomach churned. It was the first time he had admitted the reason out loud, and it sounded even more silly than it did in his head. But there was more. And in the psychology community, there is no Max, and there is no Toby. There is only Max and Toby. We are a team. There is never an invitation or award or job offer that is aimed at one of us. We are a team, and if we aren't a team anymore, then we are nothing. You would both just be standard academics without anything special, Ben said like he actually understood. Max stood up, and Bruce started yapping in protest, so Ben picked him up, and they kept walking along the beautiful rows upon rows of leafless apple trees. "You're scared that dating would cause you to lose the thing that makes you special," Ben said. Max nodded. He hated he was putting his job first over his feelings for such an incredibly sweet man, but he loved the fame, he loved the respect, and he loved how he was having a real-world impact on the world. He didn't want that to stop if he messed it all up with Toby. "I wasn't meant to tell you this, but I suggested the walk because Toby's coming to the orchard. He wants to fix this, and we all want you to get together," Ben said. Max just stopped, and his hands formed fists. How dare his family go behind his back and basically force him to sort out something he wasn't even sure he was ready for, or if he wanted it. He didn't know how to overcome his fear, his concern, and his potential career problems. Why the hell would his family do this? Then Max took a deep breath of the crisp, cold, refreshing air, and he nodded. His family had always done everything out of love, and if he was being truly honest, it was Christmas soon, so they probably wanted to know if they needed to cook extra for Toby. That was exactly what his mum would do, and he loved her for it. "Lead the way then," Max said, smiling. And as him and Ben went back towards the house, Max's stomach churned and tightened more and more. He just didn't want Toby to hate him. If that happened, Max wasn't sure if his heart would ever stop shattering. Toby hugged Max's mum, Caroline, tight as he went into the delightfully large kitchen that took up an entire small red brick building on the orchard. Max's mum smelt of sugar, apples and mixed spices that left the great taste of Christmas pudding on his tongue. When Caroline broke the hug and went over to a massive dirty gray tin-hob oven with more black pots boiling, simmering and popping away than Toby had ever seen before. She hummed a little Christmas tune to herself, and Toby just grinned. He had always loved how sweet, welcoming, and lovely Max's entire family was. Toby leant against a stretch of white fake marble worktop that ran around the entire inside of the kitchen building. The worktop was certainly controlled chaos, with there being large silver, brown, and clay bowls filled with mixtures and cake batters that Toby wanted to eat so badly. Thankfully, there was a large black dining table that was relatively empty with new blackwood chairs. He had a feeling he was going to be making good use of them later on, when whatever kitchen chaos was happening here moved on to the next stage. "Apologies about the mess," Caroline said, mixing some kind of thick mixture in a saucepan. "It's the county fair tomorrow, and we make a lot of money there. We always sell out in 3 hours, no matter how much we bring. It's fine and well done. I'm glad you're getting the admiration you deserve." "Thank you, honey." Caroline had already said Ben and Max's sister Violet was here, and the rest of the family, more like swarm if Toby was being honest, was coming tomorrow afternoon. Something she had failed to subtly hint at. Toby knew she wanted him to stay and never leave the family, but Toby wasn't sure if that was an option. Toby was about to say something else when there was a knock on the wall. Then Caroline knocked back, and then a small section of the wall went away as a door opened. Toby was shocked he hadn't realized that when he came in, but he supposed Caroline needed all the workspace she could get, so why waste it on an opening for a normal door? Then the most beautiful man in the entire world came into the kitchen with Ben and their little Yorkie Bruce. Bruce charged at Toby, and he picked up the cute dog and hugged and stroked him. Bruce licked Toby's face like it was the best thing in the world. Toby wasn't normally a fan of little rat-like dogs like a Yorkie, but Bruce was a cutie and sweet, and Toby just liked him. "Come on you," Ben said, taking Bruce from him. "We need to leave the lovers to talk. Nice seeing you, Toby." Toby nervously shivered and waved Ben goodbye. Then Caroline turned out all the hobs. "All these need to simmer, and there's some Christmas apple romantics in the oven. Do not let them burn," Caroline said, following Ben out. Toby laughed nervously. He had only heard of the famous Davidson Christmas apple romantics through whispers and myths. They were meant to be the most delicious, sensational, and crispiest apple tarts in the county, and they were only made by the family for two people who were truly in love. Toby loved Max more than anything, but everyone was basically telling them how they should feel. No one was letting them figure it out for themselves. "Your brother called us lovers," Toby said, not really comfortable with the term. "What did you tell them? You left me after we had sex." Toby felt his body vibrate with anger for a moment. It was only now he realized how hurt, annoyed, and upset he was. "All I wanted was to be with you and date. We both love each other, we've said that multiple times, but the one time we get close. You leave me after everything I have done for you." Toby took a deep breath of the warmly spiced air, and the taste of Christmas got even more intense in his mouth. Then he realized Max wasn't talking or even looking at him. He was staring at the floor with a tear running down his cheek. Toby went over to Max, and he was pleased Max didn't even resist when Toby took Max's warm, smooth hands in his. "What happened?" Toby asked, wanting an answer. "I do love you, Toby. You know that, and I want to be with you badly, because you are so sweet, so caring, and you're just amazing. Toby forced back his own tears. But I got scared, Max said. I think you're too precious and too special to fuck up on, and I've never dated in my life. I don't even really know how to. My life has always been academia, and there has never been time or a want for anything else. Toby laughed because that was so true. Ever since they had first met, they had been each other's whole world, with their conversations, their research, and their discoveries. Sure, they had a lot of other friends, and there were days they didn't see each other as they were hanging out with others. But Toby always thought about Max, and he always felt better when he was with and around Max. Max was just so special. I just don't want to hurt you by fucking up dating you. We have this friendship thing nailed, and I don't want to screw it up. Toby bit his lower lip, and he gently raised Max's smooth chin so he could look into his gorgeous eyes. You leaving me after having sex, Toby said, hating he was going to say the words, that hurt me. I am still here. I'm still standing in your kitchen hundreds of miles away from my home. You're a fool then, Max said, playfully jabbing Toby in the stomach. Yes, but I'm your fool. Toby hugged Max tight, and he had really missed the hugging. He liked the lightly spiced and cedarwood scents of Max's aftershave, and Toby just felt safe in his arms. You're allowed to fuck up, you know, Toby said. You could never say something so big in text or in person that would make me want to leave you, Max Davidson. I will always be your friend and boyfriend because you're my best friend and I love you. Max leant back a little, and Toby really enjoyed looking at his deep, gorgeous eyes. You're incredible, Toby said, looking back at the floor with the sound of pots boiling away in the background, but there's something else. Toby just bit his lower lip because he had a feeling this was going to be bad. He hoped beyond hope this wasn't Max's way of telling him he had moved on and got a boyfriend. Max had really missed holding sweet, beautiful Toby in his arms. Toby might have been slightly smaller, but he was so kind, fit, and perfect that Max never wanted to let him go. What do you have to tell me? Toby asked. Max broke the hug and looked at the boiling saucepans filled with applesauces, mulled wine, and various types of apple jams. The pure Christmassy aroma was intoxicating, and Max flat out loved the orchard normally, but at Christmas the orchard was even more special. He looked at the stunning man he loved, and he still felt bad about wanting to put his job and career first over their love. Maybe that wasn't true. Maybe he was actually just using their fame, awards, and discoveries to hide from their love. Because he might get hurt in the end, and it might drive Toby away forever. And as much as he didn't want to admit it, Max couldn't imagine a world without Toby, his best friend and the man he loved. I'm scared it's going to wreck our careers, Max said, hating himself. Just look at our awards, our job offers, our invitations, all of it. It is all to Toby and Max. We're a powerful team, and that is what the world expects. Toby nodded and stayed perfectly silent. Max didn't know if that was a good or bad thing. I'm scared that if we date and break up, all of this goes away. We won't do the research anymore that impacts our field, helps people, and changes the world for the better. You're talking about the dementia discovery, Toby said. Max had slightly forgotten how dementia scientists were now on the cutting edge of finally unlocking how the buildup of proteins in the brain that cause dementia actually impacted memory. It was based on one of their papers, so if dementia was cured, then it was thanks to them. There were so many other physical and mental health conditions that impacted memory that their past, current, and future research could help. I don't want to rob the world of anything we might find, Max said, laughing because he realized how arrogant he sounded. What are you actually scared of? Toby asked, coming over and gently pushing Max against a warm worktop. Max laughed. Toby knew him better than he knew himself, and Max didn't really have an answer for him. Him and Toby had had the odd minor fight over the years, so they wouldn't talk for a few hours, but they were always fine. They were Max and Toby, after all. There wasn't one without the other. I don't want to get hurt because you choose and find anyone better than me. Someone who actually has dating experience is funnier and cooler, Max said, knowing how dumb it sounded. He looked to the floor, and just hoped beyond hope Toby wasn't insulted or hurt by that comment. After everything they had been through together, the idea of either one leaving the other was silly. "You're the one that left me," Toby said, "and I am the one that came here. I'm not leaving this relationship." Max looked at him and grinned like a schoolboy. He really liked and cared about Toby, so he hugged him. Toby kissed his neck gently. "I'll always choose you, and I'll always want to be in a relationship with you. I'll choose you 1,000 times over, in 1,000 different lifetimes. I was always going to choose you. I love you." Max kissed Toby's soft, wonderfully warm lips. He had so missed that great taste, and now he was remembering what the rest of Toby's sweet, fit, sensational body tasted and felt like. "And even if someone's funnier, cooler, and cuter, I'll still choose you. You're my best friend, lover, and I just like you, okay?" Toby said. Max kissed him again, and they both pressed their foreheads and noses together. "You aren't so bad yourself," Max said, smiling like an idiot. "I love you too." Max kissed Toby again, and then they just hugged for a little while, and Max realized that this was everything he ever wanted. He hadn't realized he was gay until he met Toby in Freshers Week all those great years ago, but this was what he had wanted. He had never just wanted to be Toby's best friend or famous research partner. He wanted to be Toby's romantic, and certainly sexual partner, because Toby was beyond perfect. Toby was the man who made him laugh, smile, and whenever Max wanted to share or do something. He didn't think or call his family, his other friends, or anyone else. He only ever wanted to talk to and spend time with Toby. And he knew Toby felt the same way. Now they were hugging and officially together. Max felt so much lighter, happier, and he was so excited for the future. He had the man of his dreams, and now he could start living beyond academia, their discoveries, and he could start being a person. And enjoy life to the fullest with Toby by his side. There would still be research, conferences, and everything else they had loved over the past 10 years, but they could and would do it as a couple. The best power couple psychology had ever seen. Max was about to start kissing and hugging Toby again, when the rich Christmassy and apple aroma was replaced with the horrible smell of burnt sugar, apple, and pastry. "Shoot," Max said, rushing to rescue the Christmas apple romantics. But it was far too late. They were burnt, smoking, and completely ruined. And Max just hoped beyond hope he hadn't failed the classic Davidson test. Toby held Max's smooth, soft hands as they sat around a massive wooden dining table in the Davidson's family main house on the orchard a few hours later. Toby loved the incredibly juicy, succulent rosemary pork, crispy air-fried chips, and rich, meaty gravy that Caroline had prepared for them all. The Davidsons had definitely remodeled the place since New Year when he had last come, and Toby couldn't deny the dining room was stunning. The off-cream walls were perfectly contrasted by the jet-black photo frames filled with cute photos of Max, Bruce, and all his siblings. The brown hardwood floor was thankfully old enough that Toby didn't risk dying. He had hated having hardwood floors as a kid because for the first few months, as they were perfectly smooth through sheer lack of use, he was constantly slipping and falling whenever he wore socks. He hated hardwood floors. Thankfully, he hadn't fallen over yet, and he had no intention of that happening. At least Max would be there to catch him, so he might just fall on purpose. Caroline was at the head of the table with Ben and Max's dad, Lucas, next to her, as the three of them had a hardcore strategy meeting about tomorrow's fair. Toby liked listening to them talk because they were serious, so professional, and this wasn't anything like the Caroline in the kitchen earlier. It was probably why Caroline and the other Davidsons were so successful, Max included. Then Ben, Caroline, and Lucas all stopped, smiled, and just looked at Toby. "Congrats for passing the test," Caroline said, grinning. "I wasn't sure you were going to pass, but you did. Welcome to the family." Toby had no idea what was going on, and Max shrugged. "Oh," Lucas said. "Come on, son, you must know about the test." "Sorry, Dad, you must have missed it." Caroline playfully hit her husband on the arm. You said you had the talk with him when he was 16. I thought you meant sexual health and stuff. I did that. Granted, I didn't know I needed to talk about gay sex too. Toby laughed and squeezed Max's hand. He was going to be part of a fun, crazy family. Anyway, Caroline said, standing up, ever since this orchard was started, it's been a rule that potential couples come for Christmas. The leader of the house makes them Christmas apple romantics. The sweetest, most delicious apple tart you will ever taste. It takes your mum 6 hours to make them before baking, Lucas said. Toby was impressed. That was some serious dedication. And the leader of the house has to tell the potential couple not to let them burn. But if the couple is truly in love, then they will be so into each other that they forget about the romantics and they burn, Caroline said. Toby kissed Max deep and passionately. It was certainly true. He loved Max enough not to worry about some silly tarts. Then if the potential couple passed, they need to be welcomed into the family, Caroline said, and that's it. Toby Longsworth is officially a Davidson. Bruce ran into the dining room and tried to jump up, but all he could manage was jumping against Toby's shin. So Toby reached down and stroked the cute Yorkie a little. And as the night continued with more talking, laughing, and Christmas fair planning than Toby thought was even possible, he kept holding the love of his life's hand, because it felt incredible. Part of him couldn't believe how he had wanted this for an entire decade, filled with longing, wanting, and almost moments. But it had been well worth the wait, because he just knew him and Max were always going to be best friends, research partners, and famous for their discoveries. Their passion for psychology, helping people, and research wasn't going anyway. Yet at least they were now partners in life, so they could kiss, love, and just be a couple, instead of hardcore academics without a life. The future was looking bright, exciting, and Toby was looking forward to spending each day with the man he loved. And realizing they needed to be together was only possible because of the Christmas apple romantics. The weirdest and most wonderful Christmas tradition, if there ever was one.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.